European Union sources have expressed concern about a very precarious option in the Brexit negotiations which would see a deal put in place before members could vote on it. Confidential diplomatic notes suggest that EU officials think a Brexit deal is 95% agreed. However, they remain concerned that talks could break down before the end of the transition period in December. Sky News Europe correspondent, Adam Parsons, explained how an agreement could be rushed through in order to meet the deadline. He said, "That 95% figure does jump out at you, but you can read it in two ways. One is to say that 95% is pretty much across the line, there is only a smidgen left to do. The cynics might say that 5% is going to be the hardest of all. When I look at these notes, I can see that countries are constantly raising their own issues, their own particular problems." Mr. Parsons continued, "Lots of them want contingency plans, and lots of talk also about how a deal could be rushed through if it's achieved. One thing that jumps out is something called provisional application. What that might mean is that if a deal is agreed at the last minute, it's put in place before it's even ratified. One source told me that would be a very precarious option. If the UK and EU reach a deal on a future relationship agreement, the deal needs to be ratified. This means that once the Commission reaches agreement on the EU's behalf, approval is needed by the Council and Parliament. In the UK, the system is much less rigorous as there is no requirement for a debate in Parliament. The EU is reportedly looking for ways to remove time pressures and to put urgency back on the UK side. One official said, "My impression is that Barnier and the negotiating task force are much more relaxed. Their attitude is, look, this is hyper-political. One thing the EU is always good at is coming up with a legal solution to a political problem. They'll find a way of sorting out the European Parliament and internal procedures." Mr. Parsons told Sky about some of the issues that remain in the deal negotiations. "Some of them we haven't really talked about. We know issues about governance and fisheries, and also on competition rules. But there are other things, including problems around the UK's exclusion of workers from the scope of additional healthcare costs, differences in family allowances, on financial services and so on and so on. So there is still quite a long way to go."